A good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Shea Corbett. This is June of 2024, and of course, I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, and I hope that you enjoyed my offering earlier this week of The Future of Food. I think that is a podcast that is very much worth your attention, and if you agree with me about that assessment, I would very much appreciate your support in getting that podcast in particular, or the transcript of that podcast, or even just the individual information contained in that podcast out to others, because I think this is an incredibly important issue, and I do see that from the feedback I've received so far, a lot of people agree with me. But I know you're thinking, that was an incredible meal of information that you served up there, James. Thank you very much. Well, you're welcome, but actually, that was only the appetizer. Oh, that's right. The main course is yet to come, because of course it is important to know and to understand the various ways that the they, them, those are manipulating the world around us and doing things that we don't want them to do, like, say, changing the nature of food itself. But much more important than that is the answer to that problem. So, as I talked about at the end of that Future of Food podcast, I hope you did stick around to the end, of course, I will be exploring this in a forthcoming edition of Solutions Watch and on into the future. I'm sure there will be many explorations of the things that we can do to take the future of food back into our own hands, because that is why this information is so important. We still do have a part to play in this. So, to wet your whistle for that upcoming entree, excuse all of the ridiculous food puns that I'm going to throw in here, but to wet your whistle, I am going to blast you back into the archives of the Corbett Report, because while it may be true for people who are new to the Corbett Report, you may think that, oh, Solutions Watch, that's what you started in 2021, right, James? Well, yes, the Solutions Watch series was started in 2021, but the Corbett Report has been solutions-focused for much, much longer than that, as evidence of which I present to you Exhibit A, or should I say today's entree, which will be a report that I first filed in 2013 on how to boycott big food. Now, once again, there's a lot of, I think, important information. Yes, this report is 11 years old, but guess what? Growing your own food is still an option today. Just because it was filed 11 years ago does not mean this report is not relevant, or maybe even more relevant than at the time at which it was filed. So, as always, I will exhort you to check out the transcript that is available for this entire presentation with all of the links to all of the sources. Yes, some broken links, which I have replaced with Wayback Machine archive links, so that all of the information is preserved. Speaking of preserving information, if you like this report and others like it, well, you might appreciate the upside-down Corbett Report 2013 data archive that will not focus. It will not come into focus for the video viewers out there. Oh well. Anyway, this is what the 2013 USB data archive looks like. It is available for purchase right now at newworldnextweek.com. And it contains every single report that I filed in 2013, audio, visual, and textual. So I hope that you will support this work, help preserve the information, and, well, get something out of it to boot. So, anyway, that being said, please enjoy today's dish, but this is just, as I say, this is just preparation for the upcoming edition of Solutions Watch, so I hope you'll stay tuned for that. Having said all of that, bon appetit. Welcome. This is James Corbett of the Corbett Report with your eye-opener report for BoilingFrogsPost.com. The modern supermarket is less and less a place to purchase food for the household, and more a war zone where shoppers have to negotiate a minefield of toxic chemicals and additives. From processed foods with their string of unpronounceable ingredients, to the fresh fruits and vegetables saturated in pesticides, to meat and dairy products from industrial farms where animals are raised on a diet of growth hormones and animal waste, to the ever-present and ever-growing danger of GMO contamination of nearly everything, feeding healthy, nourishing food to your family is quickly becoming difficult, if not impossible, through the industrial food system. Perhaps the worst part of this phenomenon is that, as specialist stores begin to cater to the demands of their economically comfortable clientele for fresh and organic foods and ingredients, it is the poorest members of society who are increasingly targeted by these health hazards.
There's always lots of nice products standing out at the grocery store. This one caught my eye because it's classy and it's on sale, and it's filled with more GMO ingredients per item than just about anything I've seen. Let's take a look at Class Horchata, which is a powdered drink mix. It's got dextrose, sugar, titanium dioxide, maltodextrin, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, which may contain soybean, canola, and or palm oil. It's got skimmed milk powder, artificial flavor, guar gum, silicone dioxide, aspartame, powdered cinnamon, rice flour, acyl sulfame, potassium, andisorbic acid, and caramel color. And that's far too many GMO ingredients, but it's on sale and pitched, I'm going to go ahead and say, to a certain class.
For a generation that has been raised on processed foods and microwave dinners, it may be hard to imagine that any alternative to these products are available. For those who are interested in sourcing healthy alternatives to the chemical concoctions that pass for food these days, there are, as always, a host of excuses for why they can't buck the status quo and say no to the food conglomerates that control so much of our modern food supply. It's too expensive to buy fresh organic foods. It's too time-consuming to prepare foods from scratch. There isn't enough time or space to grow your own fruits and vegetables. Ironically, as more and more people fall through the cracks economically, with a record 47 million Americans now relying on food stamps to help keep food on the family table, the apathy and inertia around these issues is beginning to fade. In the last several years, we have seen a resurgence in the concept of victory gardens and urban gardening generally, as millions of people around the globe begin to rediscover the practicality, not to mention the simple joys, of growing their own food. In fact, as some of these families have shown, the space limitations of urban environments need not be an impediment to the truly dedicated urban gardener.
Drivers whizzing past on the 210 freeway through Pasadena have no idea that a stone's throw away from the fast lane is a lush but tiny Eden, a 4,000 square foot farm. It not only feeds a family, but revolutionizes the idea of what can be done in a very unlikely place, the middle of a city.
This is city living, but I brought the country to the city. Rather than have to go out to the country, I just imported it.
63-year-old Jules Dervais started this backyard farm 10 years ago. It's a deliberate throwback to the storied days of self-reliant rural America. Sustainable and dense. On their 4,000 square feet, they raise 400 varieties of vegetables, fruits, and edible flowers. 6,000 pounds a year, enough to feed themselves with plenty left over.
As study after study and report after report continues to confirm the dangers of modern chemical additives, pesticides, and ingredients, backyard gardening and participation in local farmers markets is quickly transforming from a fringe movement to a major cultural phenomenon. Recently, I had the chance to talk to Aaron Dykes and Melissa Melton of TruthStreamMedia.com about this phenomenon and just how easy it is for people to begin transitioning off of the industrial food chain. So I think the question is, what can actually conceivably be done about this? And again, I think this has to come back to that idea of, at the very least, we still control what we eat and what we don't eat, and we still vote with our dollars every single day as to what products we're going to put in our mouth and what we're not. So is there a way that people can actually source this for themselves without waiting for some sort of federal labeling law?
He's all
James,
excited.
I don't want to be nostalgic here, but in so many ways with world order, I'd love to go back to before World War II, or in this case, at least during World War II. We've got to talk about Victory Garden as a solution. And I think people en masse need to start growing whatever they can for vegetable gardens, raising their own food. And we've got to revitalize local in every sense, not the global local that they've been pushing through Agenda 21. And the rhetoric's going to remain tricky because these people have been shaping these systems for hundreds of years. And you heard Kissinger in the 70s. He wants nothing short of food as a weapon. They want to control the entire food supply so that populations remain compliant to this global world order. We can basically defeat that as best as we're going to be able to by decentralizing that, taking back any part of your production. If you're not going to do a garden, figure out who your neighbors are down the road, start a relationship. But, there's a million ways you can do it. We started just growing sprouts in our kitchen because we're not ready for a full-on vegetable garden.
Yeah. You can do that in like 2 or 3 days with just water and sprouts on your countertop, and then you have food. We were also going to start making a lot of videos, and we've been doing this a little bit, just to show how with all these convenience food, everybody thinks that they're saving so much time, but actually if you go back to just making it yourself, you not only save time but money, and you don't have a bunch of ingredients in your food that you can't even pronounce.
For those who are not confined to the space limitations of the urban environment, the ability to maintain a year-round harvest of fresh foods is even easier. As no shortage of online guides and tutorials will attest, raised bed gardening not only allows those in more rural locations the ability to feed healthy, homegrown food to their family on a regular basis, but also to reconnect with the natural environment and provide the calm and respite that is so often lacking from modern life. Recently I had the chance to discuss gardening with Leon Petard of Fair Dinkum Radio in Australia, including how soil development can be an essential part of the home gardening process. So let's talk a little bit about your setup in particular. Tell us about the raised beds that you have, how many plants you have, and what it is you're planting.
We've got 5 different raised beds at the moment, and that's actually developing. But in those raised beds, I've developed the soil. And a very important part to understand about growing your own food is that it's like a body. Look at the inputs, and when we look at even the research community, we're often talking about the media, which is an input into the life. And food is really just another input into our lives that sustains us and actually helps to grow our health and sustain our health. And so plants also need inputs. And so it's important to understand that we start from a good base. And I focus a lot on actually developing the soil from a variety of different methods, composting and adding lots of high nutrition to that soil, so that when you do actually grow your seedlings and grow your plants, it's important that your plants are full of that power and minerals and life that's in the soil. And so just as the blood is the life for our body, so the soil is the life for the plant. And so I focus a lot on minerals and actually building the soil as a base and having that soil base really high powered so that the food we eat, actually you can really notice a difference. In those 5 beds this year, we've basically sustained ourselves 100% with greens, as in lettuce and spinach and high-powered greens like broccoli. We're growing our cauliflower. We've got garlic in all the time, snow peas, beetroot. And what I try and focus on is that we actually graze off the garden. Most commercial planting enterprises basically grow a vegetable till it's huge and then they pluck it out. So you've got a crop all coming on at once. But what we do is actually eat little bits of it all the time. In other words, we eat the beetroot leaves, the broccoli leaves, I put in juices. I juice organic carrots, apples, and broccoli leaves and stems, and that provides a real high-powered chlorophyll mix with the vegetables. And the thing is that with having your mineral base really powerful in your soil, your plants actually grow a natural ability to resist pests. And, of course, we don't use any pesticide or anything like that. And if the plant is healthy, it's going to resist pests, or the pests aren't going to be a problem. I mean, I don't mind if some caterpillars or something eat a few leaves. I mean, it doesn't matter. You grow enough food to share, right? And the idea is not to look at those things as bad, because they're actually all a part of the ecosystem. And so basically what we do in those beds is focus on really good soil quality, which delivers really good plant quality. And obviously when you eat that, then those minerals actually are the minerals that our bodies are needed. And so what we do as a maintenance program, I actually put seawater on my plants at 100-to-1 ratio. I dilute the seawater 100-to-1, and I spray my plants and my trees every week with that mix. And you can see a difference in the leaf. Like sometimes if trees or plants are lacking minerals, they'll be you'll see they're spotted or they'll have discoloration. And if you maintain this seawater application, the plants will actually absorb all those minerals, and you can see that the leaves change to a glossy, healthy colour. And in some of the videos, you'll see that our leaves, they're shiny. Naturally, it's not shiny. You can go into the corporate food industry, you can't see lettuce that's shining, or beetroot leaves are actually glowing at you. And, we can go down there and basically pick the leaves or snow peas and just eat them straight off, and beautiful sustaining food. And my wife makes beautiful broccoli quiches and cauliflower soup, and James, grow your own food. It's just so satisfying, and I can feel it in my own health too. And it's a great, wonderful, satisfying thing to do.
As with every such transition, the move from an industrial food diet to a homegrown, organic one is likely to occur in stages. As people improve their gardening skills and devote more of their time and attention to sourcing healthy, natural foods from local growers and producers, they can slowly but surely eliminate the processed foods from their diets. And this, as with all such boycotts, is the real promise of the homegrown food revolution. There is nothing that we as individuals can do to directly influence the policies of the Federal Reserve or the practices of the NSA or the foreign policy of the US NATO empire. But we can directly choose what foods and products we support with our dollars and what food we put on our families' tables. Not only can we make that choice, but we do actively make that choice each and every day, whether by default or by conscious action. If we, in the full knowledge of the devastating health and environmental effects of the big food conglomerates, continue to support these corporations with our money, then we are complicit in their activities. To the extent that we withdraw our support and begin to seek out and build up alternative infrastructures for producing healthy foods, we are part of the solution. The choice is ours to make, and this revolution, like the Wall Street boycott, the big tech boycott, and all the other boycotts of the corporatocracy that are possible, begins the next time you walk into a store and purchase, or refuse to purchase, one of their products.